Good evening, friends. This is Rajiv Khurana, and I'm wearing two caps today. I'm part of IMA, and I'm also part of Lung Care Foundation. And it's an honor for me to get into conversation with Dr. Arvind Kumar, my elder brother, my friend for over 25 years, and we started Lung Care Foundation together. Well, had this little minor micro thing which nobody has seen properly except under the microscope was not there, we wouldn't be doing this. What has happened of late, in most of the conferences that I've attended, there used to be talks about VUCA times, VUCA times, VUCA times, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Now, where is this VUCA time? This is an absolute turbulent time. In conferences after conferences during the last many years, we have heard the gala success stories of China. And today, the entire world is frowning at China. We talk about people in a very high pitch like an expert. And today, we are questioning the very impact of these experts because, by definition, an expert is someone who's an expert of the past and not an expert of the future. The kind of turbulence our generation has seen, nobody has ever seen before. Nobody may not see it also. So, where are we heading towards? What is happening on the medical part? What is going to happen for the individuals? What is going to happen for the corporates? Today, in a very short conversation with Dr. Arvind Kumar, we shall be deliberating that. We have approximately 1 hour, where in the first initial 30 minutes, I'll be asking few questions on your behalf to Dr. Arvind Kumar. And while I'm asking him questions, you can also start putting your questions in the chat box so that my team could pick up those questions and share those questions with me through WhatsApp so that I can pick up your questions also and ask Dr. Arvind Kumar these questions. A lot of discussions have been happening on Corona, and therefore, the questions which were valid 10 days, 15 days back, perhaps I may not ask those questions. The questions which are relevant today, the questions which may come up in the next few days, because every 2-3 days situations are changing, we will try to delve into that. This entire program is actually the product of a very large dedicated team from IMA, namely Rekha Sethi, Sanjay Grover, and I must name all these people because they've really slogged hard in terms of creating this discussion and conversation. Praveer Das, Anubhav Sehgal, Ashwini Chopra, Shubham Pandey, and Shalini Ahuja. And I'm also assisted by Abhishek Kumar and Hamid Rahman from Lung Care Foundation to put this conversation together. So while you are sending us these questions, my request would be make it crisp and precise so that I can straight away without editing ask these questions to Dr. Arvind Kumar. I may not be in a position to name all the people who have asked questions. There is a probability that I may club few questions together. So we should be more concerned in terms of our questions getting answered in terms of hearing our own names. So pardon me if I'm not able to take your names during these conversations. So Dr. Arvind, let me ask you a very simple question which perhaps has been repeated many times. How does this COVID-19 work? How does it impact us? In a very layman's language, kindly explain to us, and then I'll get into faster questions, expecting very fast answers so that the rapid fire goes on. And my dear friends, while you are listening, and if you're liking some answer, we would love it if you send us a thumbs up or a smiley or whatever, because that encourages me a lot and everybody loves the appreciation. So even if I'm asking for it, please give it to me. So Dr. Arvind Kumar, let's start with the nature of COVID-19 itself.
Thank you, Rajiv. Good evening, friends from across the country. First and foremost, my very humble and sincere thanks to the team at IMA. Rajiv has already named each one of them, and the team at Lung Care Foundation, namely Abhishek and Hamid, for putting this together. We had done a similar exercise about 3 weeks back, just before the first lockdown had started, and this is second in the series of such discussions that we have Lung Care Foundation has done with the kind assistance of All India Management Association. So my humble and sincere regards to each one of them for this arranging this meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Coming to Corona, well, this is the biggest threat that mankind has faced in the recent past. The magnitude of destruction and death that is brought about by this, I don't think I need to elaborate there. Each one of the audience would be aware of that. Corona is the name of that virus which is causing this problem. The word COVID is actually consists of CO, VI, and D. There are three different. So CO stands for Corona, VI is virus, and D is disease. And since this disease started in 2019, so it's been named as COVID. So when you say COVID-19, it refers to the coronavirus disease started in 2019. So it's not the virus. The virus name is Corona. The two things which differentiate this virus from any other that we have had in the past is it's a highly infectious virus. The rate at which it has starting from Wuhan, the speed with which it has spread across nearly 206 countries across the globe is unprecedented in terms of speed and scale. It's not as deadly as many of the previous viruses were. However, it has caused many more times death because it's highly infectious. So the number of people infected is huge. So even if a small percentage of huge population is affected, the total numbers are huge. And that's why we have over 160,000 people already have succumbed to this disease. The maximum number is in a country which used to be called the most advanced country as far as medical field is concerned. That's United States, which has lost close to 40,000 people. So that's the magnitude of medical impact, life impact of this virus. Rajiv.
Thanks, Arvind. The more we watch the news, listen to the news, and especially read whatever comes through the WhatsApp university these days. Now, there are two sets of opinions which are happening. Number one, India is winning the battle. And number two, the worst in India is yet to come. Now, on a 3 pointers, positive, negative, or realistic, what do you see as a doctor?
Rajiv, it's a great question, but I doubt if I can give a very straightforward that way answer. I'll have to explain. So this infection is not a T20 or a one-day match where 100% in a very short time the result is being decided. It's a if I say 5-day match, even that may be wrong. It's a many days match. It's a match which is going to last for months, if not years. Let's be very clear that this virus by its very nature is here to stay. This virus attacks first maybe one person in each country. From that one person, case zero, it goes to more and more and more. And then you have exponential growth. And then you have a large number of people suddenly falling ill. The health facilities are inundated. A large number of healthcare workers fall ill. hospitals start getting closed, more and more patients are coming, more and more healthcare workers are falling sick. There are no availability of beds and ICUs in the hospital. People die because of the disease. People die for want of medical treatment of the disease, and you have huge number of deaths as has happened initially in Wuhan. The numbers are underreported from there. Then it happened in US and is currently it's there in US. Now we were also faced with a similar situation around the third week of March. Between 15th to 20th of March, our numbers were increasing, almost doubling every 2 days. And we are the first country in the world which applied a clamp down or a lockdown at that very early stage of the disease. Now, I must clarify because there is a lot of misunderstanding amongst people about lockdown. Lockdown is not a cure for virus. You don't do anything to the virus. What you do is to break the cycle of uncontrolled transmission of the disease from one person. It's like a nuclear chain reaction. In a nuclear chain reaction, in an atom bomb, you let it go in an uncontrolled manner, which explodes as a bomb. And same thing when you come inside a nuclear reactor, you convert that uncontrolled into a controlled reaction where you have a positive output. So by lockdown, you reduce the transmission in the community, thereby, we call flattening the curve. So when you have sudden increase, the cases go up like this, huge number of cases, health facilities break down. But if you have a slow increase in number of cases, you have fewer cases presenting your facilities over a longer period of time, which you can manage. Side by side, you have to take other measures to contain the virus. Lockdown is a method to prevent that sharp, rise and thereby uncontrolled spread of the disease. So if the answer is, have we managed in controlling that? So I would say it's a multi-round match. It's not a one-round match. We have succeeded in round one. If we had not done lockdown 2, lockdown 1, we would have been in a US-like situation today. We are not. But are we out of the woods? The answer is a big no. There are cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Jaipur, Indore, and some other cities where the disease is literally exploding. There are areas which are cold, about 300 districts where there is no disease, but there are areas where it's exploding. We need to continue the same efforts that we have done for the last 3 weeks, or at least 3 weeks more, till we are able to contain the disease in those areas also. Any attempt at releasing the situation today will take us back to where we were before lockdown 1, with consequences as faced in the US.
Arvind, you are addressing management professionals of India, and they are seniors all across the country. And you have been credited by many television channels as Dr. Lockdown. Your recommendations were taken very, very seriously. But then management profession also feels that this entire situation, besides being a medical problem, is also a management problem. We have gone in for lockdown, but we did not even try the herd method. What do you think, if that would have been tried, what could have been the situation in India? Let's clarify on that part.
Rajiv, first of all, I don't think I can take that name. It was attributed by one TV channel. It's a decision taken by the government, and I just cannot.
No, I appreciate that.
No,
yep.
No. So that's out. Having said that, sorry, I forgot the question. Yeah,
the herd
immunity. So what is herd immunity? Now, herd immunity is that if you let a large number of people in your community get infected, then, and it's a subclinical or a mild kind of infection, you develop immunity. And during that period, if you can protect your vulnerable population and not have a large number of deaths, and about 70 to 75% plus people in the entire community develop immunity, then slowly the virus will die its natural death. Now, this was the formula proposed by British government that no, we are not going for lockdown. We will try the herd immunity method. They failed miserably, and had to go back to lockdown, and they are in lockdown today. Unfortunately, they realized it after a critical mass in their community had already been infected. We realized and implemented before a critical mass was infected, and there lies the difference between where they are today and where we are.
Let me quickly ask you a question, really, again, on the macro part before I come down to the micro aspects of it. Stage 3, how far have we entered it, or how far are we away? A quick answer.
So, Rajiv, the answer is that, this is an often debated TV topic, stage 2 versus stage 3. Stage 2 is when it's from identified person to identified person. 3 is when it goes to community. You can't identify the source. I would say let's not go into this 2 versus 3.
Sure.
I will summarize by saying that if you take it on a countrywide basis, are we in a situation like Europe or USA where it's spreading like a wildfire? The answer is no. But is that kind of a phenomena occurring in pockets at localized level? For example, Ramganj community, Ramganj area in Jaipur and some other areas in other cities, is it happening? The answer is yes. So I think we do have areas of localized community transmission, but definitely what we have prevented is a nationwide wildfire-like spread of the disease, which is a huge achievement, but an achievement which should not be put on head as a crown. We need to sort of work on it, and we need to continue to maintain it. We can't let it slip away by our wrong actions, premature actions today.
Arvind, another question connected to that is, what is that which people in India must not do to lose whatever benefit we have collected so far?
So Rajiv, the benefit has happened because we have I would say 99% of the population, the people that you have seen on TV channels, if you take the numbers, if you divide it by 130 crore population, the number will not even be 1%. 99% of the Indians have followed the government's call and have stayed inside Lakshman Rekha. They have practiced social distancing, which is principle number 1. They have practiced hand hygiene, which is principle number 2. And now they are practicing the third principle, which has been added, which is using a face cover or a mask when in case they have to move out of the house, which is the principle number 3. Unfortunately, in the absence of a drug or a vaccine, these are the only 3 preventive measures on which this entire game of preventing corona is based. And 99% of India has religiously followed this, and that is why we are in a happy position today. And there lies the answer that this is not the time to let it slip. We need to maintain this vigil for another few weeks, irrespective of the consequences. No consequence is bigger than health. And then we will be able to contain the disease in small areas, and that will be time to start moving to partial lift down, lift up, or rather unclamping of the lockdown or lifting of the lockdown.
Arvind, let me just connect this with another issue. At Lung Care Foundation, and even our partners like IMA have supported us in the past, we have fought together battles against air pollution. Today we see the sky being very clear. In some places you can see snow-clad mountains. The flamingos are coming. Now what happens when gradually India opens up again? In various places with conditions on 20th of April, that is today, or maybe after 3rd of May, when pollution again comes back on the road, when the industries start working on it. And I do believe that there have been some studies which link pollution level with COVID. What do you have to say on this?
So Rajiv, I have never experienced this kind of pristine air in my 45 years stay in Delhi as I'm experiencing today, with air quality almost being close to, or rather equal to WHO standards. This is courtesy lockdown. Now, there are reports from Italy, from their environmental agency, and there is also now data coming from Harvard, which have looked at two things. In Italy, they have looked at the spread of the disease. How fast did the corona infection spread? And they have compared North Italy, which is a highly polluted area, to South Italy, which is a much less polluted area. And they have found that the rate of spread, all other factors remaining the same, the rate of spread of infection was much faster in northern Italy. And they also found that the rate of death was higher in those people, one because their lungs were badly affected, and two, the higher the pollution levels also affected. A similar study has come from Harvard School of Public Health, which has looked at the deaths across 300 counties in US and linked it to PM 2.5 levels. And they have found a direct correlation between PM 2.5 levels and the death rates in the patients who were admitted due to corona. So there is now strong evidence emerging that air pollution not only aids in the faster spread of the infection, but out of those who get infected, it leads to a higher mortality. I'm not saying that this is the main reason. Main reason is 99% of Indians sitting inside Lakshmana Rekha and practicing hand hygiene. But I think small percentage contribution definitely has come from the much lower levels of air pollution that we had post-lockdown. So that also has in a small way helped. And I fear that as we, someday the lockdown will be lifted and we'll go back to at least some vehicles, if not all, being on the road, and the pollution levels will increase, definitely it will adversely affect the spread of corona.
Arvind, a question which is again connected to that vis-a-vis air pollution. We always talk about air pollution outside, the ambient air quality, which is now pristine. But once the industry opens up again, we are back to square one, into our offices, working there, where the indoor air quality is a bigger challenge. And one of the studies also say that the indoor air quality could be 2 to 5 times more polluted, in many cases 100 times more polluted than the outside. So if people start working in the organization where the indoor air quality is not good, what kind of an impact it may have on a corona situation?
So Rajiv, as I said, if the outside air quality is going to adversely affect it, indoor air quality is also going to adversely affect it. And that is precisely the reason why we have been continuously requesting people to avoid smoking during this period, because if you are smoking, you not only increase your chance of getting corona, but after you have got corona, you have more chance of being in the serious group than in the mild group. The same way, indoor air quality also will need to be watched.
So the organizations will have to actually take an extra care in terms of creating a better air quality within the organization, and maybe more investments also in this regard. Now coming back, we've been talking in terms of mutation of the virus, and people keep saying that the virus keeps changing its own nature, color, etc., whatever. Some people earlier used to say it used to be 1 meter. Now they're saying 4 meters distance. What exactly is the situation, and what is a safe distance we need to follow?
So Rajiv, we started with this presumption that when you cough, so what happens? This you have to relate it to the how it spreads. It spreads by droplets. When we speak loudly or cough or sneeze, or we do some procedures on the respiratory tract, then the droplets come out, and the droplets go to a certain distance beyond your mouth and remain there for some time, and then they fall down on the surfaces. So you can either have direct droplet or surface hand, eye, nose, mouth, that kind of a transmission. So initially it was said that these droplets go to maybe a 2 feet distance or so, and that's why this 1 meter was kept. But then there was a study from Japan where they looked at some micro droplets also, and they said even if the big droplets settle down, some micro droplets may remain in the air for some time, and they strongly recommended opening the windows, that if you open the window and there is an air circulation across the room, they will actually go out. And but then there is another report recently from US which has said that when you actually cough or sneeze, it goes for a longer distance, and they have suggested 6 feet plus, which means roughly about 3 meters or 2 meters, 2.5 meters. However, I would still insist that this 1 meter is a safe, but I would very strongly request for a face cover to be worn. Now, this was another question you had raised, Rajiv, that there is a change in policy as far as mask is concerned. When this COVID crisis started, we were saying that general public does not have to use the mask. In fact, we were recommending against it, and today we are strongly recommended it. Now, why this change has happened is because of the realization that even if you are practicing 1 meter distance, but sometimes suppose I go out to a shop, I'm standing at the counter and I cough. And although my distance may be about 1 meter, but while I'm giving the money or some way, the person comes closer and I cough and my droplets reach him. So there is a possibility of a person-to-person transmission. However, if I'm wearing a face cover, 99% of the droplets will get arrested by that face cover and will not travel that much distance. So the face cover or homemade mask, not N95, not surgical mask. Please mark my words. General public does not need N95. General public does not need the mask which is there in the hospital. Hospitals need it. What general public needs is a maybe handkerchief or a chunni or a dupatta or any cloth made into 3 layers and just covering nose and mouth and going to the backside, not shared between 2 members of the family, washed and cleaned every day and kept at a clean place, to be used only when you go out, not to be used when you are inside the house. So if I'm wearing this kind of cloth cover, when I will cough, my droplets will not go too far away. And if somebody is at a 1 meter distance, it's highly unlikely that my droplets will reach him. So this is not for your protection. This is for protection of other people from you. But then if everybody does this protection for his fellow countrymen, the whole country gets protected.
So that means we have to be very, very highly conscious about our hygiene as well as our good citizenship in times to come. Now, Arvind, in the meantime, I've got more than 30 questions, so I'll have to pace up my questions, and then maybe I can pick up some of the questions which people have asked.
I'll pace up my answers.
Wonderful. I love you for that.
Let's go for rapid fire.
Absolutely. Now, we are talking in terms of morbidities. At what age group people in the corporate should be very careful about when they enter the offices?
Yeah.
Because in case they have high blood pressure or diabetes or some other kind of an ailment and they attend the office work, what kind of precautions we need to really take care of?
Quick answer. So most of the data says as the age increases, the risk increases. So it starts at 60. So 60 plus is higher risk. But if you are 70 plus, the risk is much higher. And if you are 80 plus, the risk is the highest. I would pull it a decade earlier. And I would say all those who are, so officers should be divided into 2 groups, above half century and below half century. Below half century youngsters and above half century, you give the name, but they are the people to be protected.
Oh, that's well said. But then the question is...
1 minute, Rajiv. If you have a pre-existing heart disease, lung disease, if you are a diabetic, if you are a hypertensive, if you have been taking steroids, if you have taken chemotherapy or radiotherapy in the past, or you suffer from any other disease which is likely to decrease your immunity like kidney disease and all, then your risk becomes more and you need to be protected that much more.
Arvind, an interesting part of that could be that all the people working in the corporate world go through the cycle of QSQT, and it is not the movie Qyamat Se Qayamat Tak, it is quarter se quarter tak life, with so much of very heavy targets, which creates so much of stress levels amongst the people. And if the stress levels are high, and in this COVID situation, what do you think should be the role of a modern boss? Because he has never faced this kind of a situation. And if he exerts more pressure on people, will it have an effect on the health, with the next 6 months going to be very dicey because of COVID?
So I think, Rajiv, the first thing that this corona has done is to remove this word boss from the current dictionary.
Wonderful.
The countries which used to think that they can boss this world, the people in those countries who used to think that they can boss over the world are on their knees today. So I think the country which people least expected to be able to fight the corona is, I think, fighting it probably the best out of any country in the world. So these definitions, we are entering a new world order. These definitions, Rajiv, are changing. So, however, let's say instead of boss, I will say the chief of that
Sure.
company. So the higher in responsibility you are, the more will be the pressure on you for looking after the interests of the company, and also say, I will say, looking after the interest of the family. I would say, instead of using the word employees, I will say family members in the office, and their health is dependent on him. But to keep their health good, he has to first keep his health good. And the worst thing he can do to himself is to be stressed out, because if you are stressed out, you burn your being stressed. Remember, I'll give you an example which will keep you alert always. Being stressed is like driving your car in first gear.
Wow.
Being stressed is like driving your car in first gear. Imagine driving your car for 6 hours in first gear. What will happen to the engine? The same thing will happen to your body. And if you are relaxed, it's like being in the top gear. Your engine is at the best efficient. So please don't be stressed and don't make others stressed. That's the first thing I would say for the post lockdown office scenario. Rajiv.
You have given enough food for thought for the trainers who are watching this program. And I'm sure Sanjay Grover is also making a lot of mental notes in terms of what kind of a themes could be there once the lockdown opens up, and in the next 6 months to 1 year, what kind of issues the corporates will have to actually face. And incidentally, I must say, yesterday I started an online research, and a lot of couple of hundred people have already responded. And the top 2 pointers which people have talked about are their safety at the workplace and their physical, emotional, economical security at workplace. People are talking about that, and therefore the challenges in front of the HR professional and the top management are going to be absolutely different than what we have faced so far.
Yeah,
Coming back, Arvind, now let us presume that in May, offices start opening up.
yeah,
Now, there would be issues relating to the entry and exit of people,
yeah,
how people sit, what kind of air is given. We have already talked about it. Thirdly,
yeah.
if they eat, where do they eat? How do they eat? And in case some people have to go for field work, what kind of precautions do we need? Would you
Yeah.
like to throw some light on this, please?
Yeah. So, Rajiv, we first of all, I would like to clarify that whether the lockdown ends on 3rd of May or it gets extended and ends on some other date, we can't predict today. It's a decision government will take based on the situation by end of this month, which nobody can predict today. But yeah, someday it will get lifted. The let everybody be very clear that we are not, India is not going to be corona free at any cost at the end of lockdown. Lockdown is aimed at controlling the spread of infection to certain areas, pinning it down to limited pockets in the country, and then going after testing, identifying the people, taking them to treatment centers, giving them best treatment, and doing contact tracing, going after their testing, their contact tracing, and thereby trying to kill the pool of infection in the community. It's a long drawn out process. If anyone thinks that this process is ending in May, he's mistaken. No country in the world is predicting that this battle will end soon. Let me clarify, vaccine is at least a year away, at least a year away. Out of all the medicines which have been propagated, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, none of them is going to be proved to be a wonder drug in at least coming days or weeks or months. So we are going to continue to have 3 most effective weapons against this virus. Number one, maintaining a distance so that we don't infect each other. Number two, washing our hands frequently so that we don't infect ourselves. And number three, having a face mask 100% of the time outside of your house so that you are safe for other people. These three principles will be the foundation on which next few months of the whole world will rest. I'm sorry, might be sounding pessimistic, but I'm giving you the real life scenario which exists today and will be there in months to come. So at the entry, you would have to have a thermal scanner so that anyone who's having a fever kind of a situation is immediately caught there. And caught means is detected there and can be prevented from coming to office. He should go for testing. Voluntarily, anyone who's developing an influenza-like illness will have to volunteer and will need to be tested. When you are inside the office, you will have to take measures that you maintain that 1 meter distance at whatever cost. So therefore, I don't foresee a situation where any company will be able to allow 100% of its workforce to come back to office. I would imagine a situation where all those who can work from home and whose work can be done from home should continue to be allowed to work from home. Only those who are absolutely necessary to come to office should be asked to come to office. The shifts will have to be staggered in such a way that we don't clash. You know, one shift is coming and another shift is going out. So there is a lot of crossing of people on the staircase, etc. There has to be a 1 hour gap. Lunch times will need to be segregated. The meetings will need to be kept to minimum. More and more work will need to be done in a digital format like this, which I think has proved to be an equally
Boom, yes.
It's just a question of, changing our mindset. Earlier, these kind of meetings, we have gone, Rajiv, across the country and addressed our friends. But today we are equally comfortable addressing them here from the comforts of our home. So we need to change our attitudes, lot of unlearning, lot of relearning, but there will be a huge change in the way offices will be run in the times to come. The travel will become almost a thing of the past. So, we used to have these conferences where hundreds and thousands of people used to come. Those things, at least for a few months to come, till such time that we find an effective vaccine. And that time is at least a year away. Till that time, all those things will be a thing of the past.
So here we have Dr. Arvind Kumar answering to my question. It's time now for me to take up questions from the people. I have many more questions, but then the time's running out. So therefore, I'm going to pick up some of the questions which my friends have sent me. And in case you have liked the answers given by Arvind Kumar, why don't you give him a thumbs up in the meantime? Send him a smiley, please. Even if you send it to me, I'll love that.
Can I say a few sentences?
Yeah.
Actually, I might have sounded very pessimistic, and I actually see a lot of anxiety on the faces of a lot of our esteemed.
No, rest assured, management professionals by face look very serious. Don't worry about that part. So they may give me a smile at the moment because we ask them to smile, but they are generally very serious. Okay, don't worry about that part.
I wish to reassure friends from across the country that it's a serious matter, but it's not a matter where we should be too stressed. This too shall pass.
Absolutely.
And we have to let me say there are a few things that we must clarify today. What is and a lot of people may differ with my analogy, and I'm being very down to earth and practical. What is the need of the hour? Maybe if somebody was to ask me, Arvind, how would you imagine India 3 months from now? For me, the most important issue is 3 months from now, I want to see each one of the 130 crore of my fellow countrymen to be very much there.
Absolutely.
On this planet.
Absolutely.
The last thing I want to see in this world is 40,000 of the countrymen, succumbing to this disease as has happened in US. Now, tell me, is there any price which can be too big to pay for saving lives? If there is a factory which is closed, if all the workers and the management is alive and healthy and kicking, tell me which factory on this earth cannot be restarted?
Absolutely.
65% of the population of the country is under 35, Rajiv. There
Yeah.
is going to be a shift of lot of investment from certain areas to our country. The whole world today is looking at India model of managing this huge deadly disease, where established models of healthcare have failed, and this doubtful model of healthcare is still running up and about. So we are creating a new world order. We are creating a new model for the world. As a doctor, for me, the need of the hour is for 1,300 million people to be alive.
Absolutely.
Alive people can revive economy, can revive factories, can revive newspaper offices, can revive airline in the ABCD. Dead people cannot revive economy. Families of those people who have died, they will be psychologically devastated. Can you
Absolutely.
imagine the plight of 40,000 families in United States who have not been able to give even a decent burial to their relatives?
Absolutely.
They were given the bodies sealed in a coffin, back sealed. They can't even have a last darshan of their relative. They can't even have a mask for them, a prayer for them. We are saved of all this. So I would humbly appeal to my friends across the country, being alive at the end of this war is the need of the hour, and no price is too big to pay for that.
Wonderful, Arvind. So
The
here you were.
leaders have to lead with empathy. Please care for your employees. Please don't look for short-term gains. Look for long-term gains. In the long term, India is destined to be the superpower in the new world order.
Well, friends, I've been a buddy of Arvind for the last 3 decades. He's a wonderful, wonderful doctor. And today I'm very delighted to listen to him as a management expert, as a motivational speaker,
No, no, no.
and as an inspirer
This is a
also in
famed
terms of
doctor.
telling us in terms of what we need to do. So Arvind, now let's move into a very rapid fire kind of a question which people are asking. And let me just ask those questions to you. Number one, when the market opens and people start going to the workplaces, all of them would not be having the luxury of cars. They will have to move by buses or the metros. What kind of precautions are necessary there?
So Rajiv, whether you are in bus or metro or your personal car or any other mode of transport, three principles: 1 meter distance, frequent washing of your hands, and a face cover every time you are outside of your house. These three golden principles need to be applied by 100% of the people, 100% of the time, and that is what is going to save us from this virus.
Uh, Audience is also asking in terms of two dimensions. Number one, can the virus hit back to us very fast? And number two, if the person has been affected, can there be a relapse?
Yeah, so Rajiv, whenever this lockdown ends, please don't be under the impression, and I repeat, I might be sounding repetitive, but I think it's important. Please don't expect that the virus would have disappeared from the country. We would have only prevented wildfire-like spread of virus. It would be there in some pockets. It may be there even in those cities where there is no case being detected. Maybe some isolated cases there, which has not been picked up, because you are not testing 100% of the people. You cannot test 130 crore population. So these to be practiced by each of the 130 crore people. And if we violate these principles, there is always a possibility of the virus coming back. Japan is now going back into the second wave. Yesterday, their numbers were close to 10,000, and they have just declared a national emergency. Singapore initially could contain it by rapid testing and contact tracing, but then the disease was lurking in the areas where a lot of immigrants live in very crowded conditions, and they had a resurgence of disease from there. So they are now in a 30-day lockdown. So there is a possibility of disease coming back. So when we end our lockdown, there the test of Sanyam and Anushasan of 130 crore people will be tested. If we can maintain these three principles with Sanyam and Anushasan, we would have avoided a second wave hitting us at that time. Regarding the mutation, yeah, theoretically, the virus can mutate, definitely. It has come to us by mutation only because it was not supposed to be a human virus. It used to be found in bats. But whatever it is, suppose we do find a vaccine, or suppose I have infection and I develop immunity. Tomorrow, if the virus changes its antigenicity, I can always get reinfected. That's why I'm saying this is a long drawn battle, not a 1 month T20 match as many people are thinking, oh yaar, jaldi se lockdown khatam ho aur hum fir se club mein jaएं. Well, friends, sadly, those days are many, many, many months away. Please pardon my being so blunt, but I have to state the truth.
But the doctor has to say the truth and nothing but the truth. अरविंद, आपने संयम और अनुशासन की बात करी. अब ये सिचुएशन ऐसी भी हो गई है परिवारों के अंदर जहां पे सब लोग कहते हैं यार मैं थोड़ी देर के लिए वॉक करके आ जाऊंगा ना, अभी सब सड़क खाली है, बाग में कोई नहीं है, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. और लोग क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं कि उससे पहले ही कोई निकल गया या मेरे साथ से होकर निकल गया तो मैं क्या करूं. ऐसा भी केस हुआ है दिल्ली के अंदर जहां बेटे ने बाप के खिलाफ पुलिस में एफआईआर करा दी कि मेरा बाप वॉक करने चला गया है, इसको रोको क्योंकि मेरे से रुकता नहीं है. तो जब परिवार वाले नहीं सुनेंगे, ऑफिस के लोग नहीं सुनेंगे, तो ऐसे लोगों के साथ क्या सख्ती करनी चाहिए?
Rajiv, it just needs a few breaths of infected air for you to get this virus. That unfortunately is the level of infectiousness of this virus. So if suppose, this is a very common thing which is asked, and unfortunately, if I was to enlist the places where the violations are taking place even today, I think maximum violations are taking place in terms of morning walkers, joggers. So suppose somebody has passed just a few minutes before you and he has coughed and he was infected. And mind you, for being infected, you don't have to be symptomatic. Be clear. Yesterday, 90% of those cases which were detected positive in Delhi, 90% of them had no symptoms. They were just randomly selected people and they turned out to be positive, about 80 odd people. Most of them were symptom-free, asymptomatic. So some normal looking person passes by, he coughs, but he's infected, he puts out some viruses, you happen to pass next to him, you inhale, and it goes inside. So my request again is, Lakshman Rekha is the Lakshman Rekha. Sita ji crossed that Lakshman Rekha only for a few seconds, and what happened thereafter.
बट अरविंद, इसके साथ में एक बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट बात ये भी उभर कर आती है कि अपना थोड़ी देर के लिए अगर मैंने ये गलती कर दी और मैं सोचता हूं मैं वापस आके हाथ धो लूंगा, मैं मॉइस्चराइजर लगा लूंगा, मैं बच जाऊंगा, तो ऐसा मैं ये धारणा कितनी ठीक है?
सो राजीव, ये सांस से भी जा सकती है और हाथ से भी जा सकती है.
ओके.
तो बाय वॉशिंग योर हैंड्स यू आर प्रिवेंटिंग वन मेथड ऑफ ट्रांसमिशन. बट सपोज जैसे ये व्हाई हैव दिस क्लॉथ कवर हैज बीन रिकमेंडेड to avoid a direct person to person transmission, and it's very effective. आप खुद देखिएगा, आप एक कागज लीजिएगा और अपने मुंह के आगे कागज को 1 फुट पे रख के या आधे फुट पे रख के जोर से खांसिएगा. आप देखिएगा कागज पे कितनी सारी ड्रॉपलेट्स आ जाती हैं. उसके बाद एक क्लॉथ कवर लगा के फिर से उस कागज को उसी दूरी पे रख के देखिएगा, एक ड्रॉपलेट भी नहीं आएगी.
That's a wonderful experiment. We all should try at home. The wonderful experiment. Arvind, you are addressing the management professionals of India, and they are generally very rich people.
Top management professionals.
Absolutely. I stand to be corrected. Sanjay is smiling at me. Now the question is, we can afford. And situation is also कि कई cases अपना है asymptomatic. लेकिन क्योंकि मेरे पास पैसा है तो मैं सोचता हूँ चलो यार मैं टेस्ट करा ही लूँ. तो कितना voluntary testing जो है अपने आप को निश्चिंत करने के लिए that I don't have those kind of symptoms, will it help? This is the question being asked.
So Rajiv, as of today, the testing guidelines are very clearly specified by ICMR. And so they have, if you have history of travel, if you have history of contact with a travel person who has traveled, if you have history of contact with somebody who's positive, or if you are having influenza-like illness, or if you are a healthcare worker who has come in contact, or all those who are getting admitted to hospitals with pneumonia. So these are the categories in which the testing is allowed today by ICMR. And my answer, there are a lot of people who are questioning the strategy of government under testing, and every TV channel, oh, we are under testing. Now, let me tell you that there are experts in ICMR who are working on it 24/7, and they have devised a strategy which they think is best suited for our country. I heard Dr. Ganga Khedkar today morning, and he said that for every test that we are finding to be positive, we are testing 25 negatives. So if we test 26 people, we are finding one positive, whereas US is finding one positive in 11, and rest of the country are finding one positive out of less than 10. So that was his way of telling that no, we are not under testing. So I would say that as of today, you're going and getting tested voluntarily just because you want to do it is not possible, because you have to meet those criteria. You can't go and ask for it yourself from a lab. It has to be requested by a doctor. That request has to be uploaded on the ICMR website, and only after a government lab or a private lab will do your test.
And let me take up a question which had come to us through email earlier. And the person had asked that, okay, this is a problem where the lungs get affected very fast. How do we strengthen our lungs? And you're the right person to answer that.
So the number one, no smoking. Even if you are a smoker, please use this golden opportunity of being with your family to kick that smoke, kick that habit. You would have done wonders to your future. That's number one, which is the worst thing. After that, there are a lot of exercises. So I would recommend, Kapal Bharti, Anulom Vilom, simple breathing exercises. So I would say, if you just look at me, I would say you take a deep breath in, deep, as deep as you can, and hold it. Don't release. Keep holding until you actually cannot hold it. Say initially, to begin with, you are able to hold it for 18 seconds. We call it BHT, breath holding time. You decide, okay, my breath holding time to begin with was 18 seconds. By today evening, I'm going to add 5 seconds. So practice it next time, a second more. In the afternoon, a second more. By evening, you might add 5 seconds. Anybody who has a breath holding time of 45 seconds plus is in a very safe zone. So this is a very good exercise that you can do. If you have an exerciser, any kind of exercises at home, please practice it twice a day, at least half an hour, provided you are not a heart patient, and please take care of other comorbidities. Otherwise, rope skipping, if you have a roof, you can go and do a brisk walking. Even if not home, you at least do brisk walking. Some kind of physical activity is needed. But if you are in a small place and no physical activity can be permitted, then sitting and doing this breath holding, increasing your breath holding time by a few seconds, maybe a second or two per day, by the end of lockdown, you would have done great benefit to your lungs.
Wonderful, Arvind. What Dr. Arvind has said is, these exercises can strengthen your lungs, but this is not a cure against corona.
Not at all, not at all.
Number two, this is the time to dust off all the dust which has settled on your machines that you bought as exercises and start using them. Of course, don't take the risk. If you have some kind of an ailment, consult your doctors.
Heart patients should be careful. Yeah, please check your background medications and all.
I think there are also a lot of myths.
Sure. Eat well. Well does not mean that you overeat. Somebody said that by the time the lockdown ends, I may not be able to exit from my main door. This was fun. So don't overeat. Please see to it that you don't gain weight. Eat well does not mean overeat. Do take about 2.5 liters of fluids every day. Avoid excess of alcohol. No smoking. And please do practice relaxation exercises. Being stressed out is the last thing you want, because that will diminish your immunity and will increase your chances of contracting corona. Other than that, ginger, garlic, lesun, haldi, garam mirch, etc., I have no objections Whether they benefit or not, I don't want to get into controversy, but they do no harm. So if you believe in it, please do that.
Arvind, another question which has come is, how should we handle fruits, vegetables, consumable products, and groceries when we
Yeah,
bring them home?
so vegetables should be, when you bring them in, they might have fomites, this droplets from the vegetable seller. The polythene outside might have droplets from the vegetable seller. So you should take them out of the polythene. The polythene should be discarded, and the vegetables should be washed nicely in running water. If possible, just put them in the sunlight for a time. Otherwise, washing in running water is important. But after that, please do wash your hands with soap and water. As far as the bread, butter, milk is concerned, so you can actually put a little bit of sanitizer on the bread because it's not water permeous, so water will not go inside. Same way with butter packet. Milk packets can be washed under the running water, and any other packet which comes from outside. First of all, you should be careful receiving it from couriers. Ask them to drop it at the door, pay by e-methods, and once the guy has gone, you then go and pick it up. Presume every person and presume every article to be infected. This is the best approach. Presume every person outside of your family and presume every article coming into your house to be infected, and open the carton, throw the carton outside, dispose it off in such a way that it should not be hurting other people, it should not be contaminating other people. And after handling any and everything, please make sure that you wash your hands. Another problem people are reporting is because of this frequent hand washing, a lot of cracking of hands has started taking place. What I did was, when I sleep, I wash the hands, and when the hands are still little moist, I put 5 drops of coconut water, coconut oil, and just rub it nicely all around and go to sleep. When I get up in the morning, the hands are very oily and skin is nice and supple.
Wonderful. Arvind, another question which I'm going to take up is, people have the tendency to do a lot of self-medication. और कुछ नहीं तो chemist से phone करके इसकी दवाई भेज दो और chemist भेज देता है. And there is one medicine which is now going circles because we are exporting it to America in larger number, and people say, can we take hydroxychloroquine on our own to stay away from the dangers of corona?
No. So answer is no self-medication. Paracetamol is probably the only thing which I would allow people to take on their own, because that can be taken. It's harmless. No chloroquine, please. There are n number of trials which have been done to find out whether chloroquine benefits the general population or not. And as of today, there is no evidence that it does any good to the general population. The only indication is healthcare workers who are working in the ICU looking after a positive patient, or a worker or a family member at home who's looking after a positive patient, because their level of exposure is higher, risk is higher. So one doesn't mind accepting a little bit of side effects in that situation. The risk-benefit ratio is favorable. But for general population, the 3 golden principles are million times more valuable and effective than chloroquine. Chloroquine has been shown to cause side effects in lot of people, including deaths.
Oh God. Arvind, another question which I'm going to take up is, hospitals were full before corona came, and all of a sudden now certain hospitals are sealed. We are only focused on corona. What happens to the other surgeries? The kind of surgeries, you open around 500 chests every year. What happens to those people who have emergencies or who would like to go for elective surgeries?
Yeah. So Rajiv, right in the beginning, when this talk about lockdown was there, most of the hospitals, what was done was that all elective surgeries were put on hold. Why was it done? For many reasons. One was that you wanted to preserve the energy and the manpower to be used for these wards which were being prepared at that time. You wanted to reduce the crowds coming to the hospital, because hospitals are the places from where maximum spread of infection can take place. And number three, you wanted the masks and other things which get used in these surgeries to be available for those patients who were to come. 20th March versus 20th April, there is a world of difference in the health sector preparedness of the country. If we were faced with the avalanche of cases between 20th to 30th of March, we were absolutely ill prepared to handle that. Nobody knew about Corona. Nobody knew anything about the treatment, the preventive measures, the PPEs. Nothing was there. 1 month of lockdown has given us a golden time, where every doctor today knows about it. Every healthcare worker knows about the PPE. Lot of PPE. I'm not saying we are ideal as far as, but it's million times better than what it was 20th of April. So we stopped all elective surgeries at that time, which continue to be stopped today. All elective operations were stopped. Even a semi-elective kind of things were stopped. And only those which were life-threatening emergencies were handled. And that's how beds were created for these extra patients.
Well,
Plus,
you are listening to Dr.
A lot of extra capacity has been created. So as far as beds are concerned, ICU beds are concerned, mind you, I want to clarify that all those people who are in quarantine are not going to the hospital. They are being kept at non-hospital facilities. Only the patients are in the hospitals. Other people are being kept at quarantine. Means a suspect need not be in the hospital. They are in non-hospital settings. Approved patient is kept in isolation. They are in the hospital.
Arvind, right now, all these management professionals, because there is a lot of heat developing and they are sitting in the air-conditioned environment, are also asking question in terms of impact of air conditioning vis-a-vis COVID.
Yeah. So Rajiv, any place where there is a kind of it's a public place and you have central air conditioning, if you have one patient who's positive and he coughs or sneezes or puts out his droplets in there is a possibility of all the people in that environment getting infected. It's a possibility. So when you are at home and you have a your room and a window AC or a split AC inside your house, only with your immediate family members, you can switch on the ACs. But in the offices with central air conditioning, this can become an issue if you have an infected person who's continuously putting out those droplets.
So the individual air conditioners at home or in small offices
are
safer. All right. Okay, friends, it's 5 o'clock and we were to close this. And I'm sure a lot of your questions have been answered by Dr. Arvind. And some of the questions which I thought you may be having in your mind, I've asked Dr. Arvind and he has answered. And in case you feel people like Dr. Arvind Kumar, the entire medical fraternity is doing a wonderful job in India, time now to give a big thumbs up on your screen. Show the thumbs up, clap for them, encourage them. हमने बहुत घंटियां बजाई हैं, आज जरा thumbs up भी दिखा देते हैं on Facebook, on WhatsApp. This has been a wonderful time talking to Dr. Arvind Kumar. We are looking in terms of a different kind of a scenario. The entire world invested very heavily into armaments to fight with each other. And today we are sitting together to fight with something which we really cannot see. चाणक्य ने कहा था, अगर दुश्मन अदृश्य हो तो छिप जाना बेहतर है. और डॉक्टर अरविंद हमेशा से ये कहे हैं, घर में रहिए, स्टे होम, स्टे सेफ, ताकि आप लोग बच सकें. और मैं आखिरी शब्द डॉक्टर अरविंद कुमार से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, अगर मैंने कुछ सवाल नहीं करे, then he may add to that, and then we'll be concluding this session. Over to Dr.
Rajiv, while you were praising the medical community, I wanted to take this opportunity and express the heartfelt gratitude of the entire country for what I call the first line warriors. Rajiv, we are in the hospital setting. Please spare a moment for our police personnel. Please spare a moment for our municipal karamcharis and healthcare workers from the municipalities who go to the lanes and by lanes of the country, the mohallas, the, inside, sometimes they get beaten up, sometimes they get spit upon, sometimes they get scolded, and they are at the front line. I would like that they are the first line warriors.
Absolutely.
When somebody crosses them, then they reach hospitals and they come under our care. So I would like, hands to be raised for our police people,
Absolutely.
for our kirana store people, for all those little unknown faces who have kept the wheels moving, so that we didn't go thirsty, we didn't go hungry, we got our milk and bread and butter. So this has been a lovely, unimaginably wonderful experience, Rajiv, where 130 crore people under a very, very powerful and dynamic leadership have stood like a country and really tried hard to beat Corona. Till now, we have won round one. But friends, there are many, many, many rounds to go. And we need to be equally vigilant in each of the ensuing rounds to win the final battle. But I'm very sure that one day we shall win.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And thank you very much for all the participants to joining us, staying till the very end, asking so many questions. I had clubbed many questions together. I couldn't have taken the names because the time was pretty short, but I hope I've been in a position to actually cover most of the queries that you would be having. In case you still have some questions, do send us through email in the address provided, and I'll ensure that from Lung Care Foundation, we will give an answer, or we'll do some recordings and post it on to you. Thank you very much. I can't say shake hands. Namaste to all of you. Let the spirit of India be very strong, and we all must stay home, stay safe. God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Bye.